Greeting everybody. Welcome to Francis M channel. Today, the movie I am going to describe for you guys is Boss Level. So, let's get it started. Roy Pulver, an alcoholic and retired Delta Force soldier living in Atlanta, awakens in his apartment when a blonde woman sleeping beside him screams as a machete-wielding man enters trying to kill him. The woman flees and he disarms the assassin with ease before a military helicopter kills the man with a minigun, believing him to be Roy. Roy kills the gunner with a thrown combat knife, causing the gunner to shoot the pilot, who crashes the helicopter into Roy's loft. Roy leaps from the window into a truck full of sand before the wrecked helicopter explodes, carjacks a man driving a Dodge Challenger, and is chased by another pair of assassins, a red-headed woman he refers to as Pam and her driver, Esmeralda. After getting distracted by his own internal monologue and missing a critical landmark, Roy's car is hit by a church bus, into which he is thrown, and he dies. The movie flashes back to Attempt 079, showing Roy being killed by the helicopter after hitting his shin on his bedpost. It is revealed that Roy has been reliving the same day, May 9th, for over 4 months, and is being targeted by multiple assassins. He has relived the morning enough times to be able to predict their locations and strategies. On Attempt 037, Roy was shot twice by Pam using a silenced wall-their-arms pistol as soon as he climbs out of the sand truck. On Attempt 069, Chinese-British swordswoman Guan Yin beheads him on an escalator. Roy uses nicknames for all the assassins he encounters because he never has time to question their motives or learn their real names, except for Guan Yin, who ritualistically announces her victory every time she kills Roy. On Attempt 088, Roy is killed in a supermarket parking lot by Kaboom, a dwarf explosives expert. On Attempt 093, he is killed in a Chinese restaurant by Roy No. 2, a near doppelganger of Roy. On Attempt 104, he kills a pair of identically dressed African-German men he calls the German twins in an alley before Guan Yin beheads him again. On Attempt 048, Roy tries to call his estranged wife Gemma, with whom he had been attempting to repair his relationship. Her phone is answered by her boss, Colonel Clive Venter, head of defense contractor Dino Labs. Venter tells Roy that Gemma died the previous evening in a slip-and-fall accident in the lab. Roy is immediately suspicious, but is killed at the payphone he was using by the German twins, who are armed with rocket-propelled grenade launchers, before he can act on the information. Roy is now on Attempt 140. Roy kills Pam and Esmeralda before heading to the Chinese restaurant, ordering and quickly consuming 2 bottles of baijiu from his bartender friend Jake, Jong. Roy points out another barfly at the restaurant, Dave, who works for a private security consultant firm and likes to go on prolonged tirades about various risks and threats at the slightest prompting. Roy also points out a famous Chinese competition sword fighter, Dai Feng, Yo, who enters at 11:05 a.m. At 12:47 p.m., the entire group of assassins enters the bar, and shoots an extremely intoxicated Roy to death. Roy reveals that he has never lived past 12:47 p.m. on any of his attempts, no matter where he is at that time. In the unlooped timeline, the day prior, Roy visits Gemma at the Dino Labs facility just outside Atlanta, believing she has gotten him a job interview, as many of the security personnel there are military veterans. Gemma and Roy argue over their son Joe, played by Grillo's real-life son, Rio, because Gemma has not yet told Joe that Roy is his father, despite having a very good bond. Gemma is still somewhat resentful that Roy chose a dangerous military career over being home with his wife and son. Gemma acts strangely, taking measurements and asking questions about his weight. The two are confronted by Brett Sasso, Dino's head of security, who summons Gemma to speak with Venter, who is concerned by Roy's service history and orders him tracked. Before leaving to meet with Venter, Gemma reveals that it is she who needs Roy's services, not the company, before taking a lock of his hair, telling him to open a birthday present she sent him, and saying, "Remember this, Osiris." Venter asks for a status update on the machine Gemma is working on, which she had earlier stated has the power to unmake all of time and space if used incorrectly. Gemma says there are slight delays, which perturbs Venter, along with Gemma's having discussed the security presence at the lab with Roy. That evening, at a bar, a drunken Roy enjoys the company of Alice, a dental hygienist. Gemma calls the bar while preparing a cylindrical device with the samples she had collected from Roy. She tells him she may have to do something drastic, and begs Roy to take care of Joe if something should happen to her. Venter and Brett disconnect the call, and Roy is disturbed by what he could make out on the phone, but in his inebriated state is distracted by Alice, the blonde woman who is with him when the machete-wielding assassin assaults him the next morning. In the present, it is attempt 141. Roy remembers the birthday present, and finds it unopened in his mail basket, a copy of a book titled The Mythology of Iset and Osiris, which Gemma has inscribed with a message, "May you always live your life forward and remember ... Time waits for no man." Roy is killed before he can investigate further. On attempt 142, Roy is killed by the church bus while attempting to read while driving, but does spot some highlighted passages in the book. On attempt 143, Roy evades Pam and Esmeralda by noticing something new, that the car he stole has a nose switch, which greatly increases his driving speed but causes him to miss the exit to the Chinese restaurant. He recalls attempt 051, the last time he went somewhere other than the restaurant, when he was killed by Smiley, a redneck with poor dental hygiene who favors a truck-mounted harpoon launcher. Resuming on attempt 143, Roy arrives at underground Atlanta and enters a retro video game arcade and cafe. While reading the book for clues, he spots Joe making some sort of trade with an older boy. He follows Joe into the main arcade area, and the various monitors show signs of interference as he passes. He finds Joe, who confesses he ditched school to participate in a video game tournament, and reveals that he was purchasing a bundle of cards for a trading card game he plays, not drugs, to Roy's relief. Heartbroken that he has to be the one to reveal to Joe that Gemma has died, Roy offers to take Joe out for pizza. After exiting the arcade, Roy attempts to tell Joe what has happened, but before he can reveal it to Joe, he notices that the clock outside the arcade reads 12:50 p.m. He has survived 3 minutes longer by going to the arcade. He realizes that, like the diner, the arcade is underground and he is being tracked using a transmitter. The assassins soon arrive, and Roy uses his own body as a shield to protect Joe, and reveals that he is Joe's father before he dies and resets. On the next attempt, Roy holds the machete assassin at knife point and demands to know how he's being tracked. After getting no answers, he goes to the Chinese restaurant and searches himself for the transmitter to no avail. He asks security specialist Dave where such a device might be planted. Dave tells Roy that the best place to plant it would be in the teeth. Roy suddenly remembers being anesthetized by Alice the hygienist, and recalls Brett being present. Roy uses pliers to extract multiple molars before finding the correct one, and Dave confirms that whoever purchased the device has significant resources before Roy is killed by Roy number 2. Roy resets again, this time questioning Alice, who says Brett is responsible for the tracker. Roy removes his tooth immediately upon entering the Chinese restaurant, and uses the tracker to lure Pam to an abandoned building, who reveals she uses a gun formerly owned by Adolf Hitler that, with customization, she purchased for over $750,000. Roy, offended that he had been repeatedly killed by Hitler's gun and gobsmacked that anyone would spend that much on a pistol, shoots Pam multiple times, for the juice. Next, he lures Smiley into a trap, using the harpoon gun himself as an act of sadistic revenge. He systematically kills the rest of the assassins using his tooth as bait, confirms Brett's involvement, and reveals his suspicion of Venter before heading to Dino, crashing the car in an ineffective attempt to break into the facility before being shot and killed by Brett. Roy uses the next several resets to probe Dino's defenses using trial and error, eventually using a successful strategy on attempt 150 of killing Roy number 2 and using his clothing and access badge to enter the building, disabling a security camera in an elevator, killing a guard inside that elevator and using the guard's gun to take out the rest of the security team. However, upon making it to Venter's office, he is confronted by Guan Yin, who defeats him effortlessly after Roy discovers that he used all his ammunition. He makes 6 more attempts, all of which end in failure. However, on attempt 156, Roy lingers long enough after his defeat for Venter to reveal the truth about the machine in the lab and his plan. It is called the Osiris Spindle, and is a quantum device capable of rewriting history. Venter plans to use it to undo some of the most horrible events in human history, while simultaneously setting himself up as the world's dictator. Venter also confirms his responsibility for Gemma's death. Roy realizes that Gemma somehow used the Osiris Spindle to intentionally put Roy in a time loop, hoping he would be able to learn enough over time to stop Venter's plans. Starting on his next reset, Roy begins taking a series of one-day sword lessons with Dai Feng, gradually modifying the story he uses to convince her to spar with him as his skills improve. After 41 days, on attempt 198, he defeats Dai Feng in a sparring session and realizes he is ready to infiltrate Dino again, starting with attempt 200. This time, he defeats Guan Yin, then kills Brett before confronting Venter. Venter tells Roy that they can't shut down the Osiris Spindle, and that if it runs too long it will destroy the world. He also reveals that while Roy was fighting Guan Yin at Dino, Joe was being targeted by the other assassins. After killing Venter, Roy speeds to the arcade, only to find police removing Joe's body from the scene. As Roy attempts to get past the police cordon, the Osiris Spindle explodes, destroying the world. Roy wakes up, still stuck in the loop. He spends the next 15 attempts allowing the machete assassin to kill him, stuck in depression over his failure to save Gemma and Joe. After breaking out of his depression, he chooses instead to start spending his days bonding with Joe, playing video games with him at the arcade, getting lunch with him, and talking in the park. They are not accosted during the day and Roy is reassured by Joe falling asleep each afternoon just before the world ends. On attempt 249, Roy and Joe have a longer conversation and Joe reveals that he had gotten a voicemail message from his mother that morning. Roy sees the timestamp on the message and realizes that Gemma is still alive when he wakes up each morning. He goes to Dino and uses the timestamp on security footage of Gemma's murder by Brett to determine that she was alive for at least 14 minutes after waking. On a subsequent attempt, instead of using the knife to kill the helicopter gunner and cause the helicopter to crash, he jumps onto the helicopter, kills the gunner, and takes the pilot hostage, ordering him to fly them to Dino. He knocks out the pilot, uses the minigun to kill all the assassins who tracked him to the facility, thereby saving Joe, and fights his way downstairs just in time to kill Brett and Venter and save Gemma. Roy reveals he has been spending his attempts being a father to Joe, and that he saw the end of the world. Gemma reveals that they may be able to stop the chain reaction if Roy enters the Osiris Spindle, which will likely kill him and send him back for one last attempt. However, this time, there will be no more chances. If Roy dies, he will die permanently. Roy enters the Osiris Spindle, and wakes up in his bed as the machete assassin attacks again. He smirks confidently as he declares that making it through the day this time will be a piece of cake. The end. Thank you for listening. Please help subscribe and hit the bell notification. Goodbye and